What's up, gamers, and welcome back for more WotC-20. Today's matchup is Poliwrath versus Electric Zoo. Electric Toolbox? Electric. However you want to think about it. Off the draw, we have Electric going first. Rocket Zapdos in the active with a lightning attach, and it looks like they're going straight for a Plasma out of the gate against an opposing Cleffa. So worth noting that there will be a relevant type matchup here. The Poliwag on bench is lightning weak with 50 HP. So not capable of being one-shot, but we'll keep an eye out for plus powers and strength charms. Also a noticeable bench inclusion, there is a Clefairy on board. That Clefairy is from E-Reader, Neogenesis. So we'll talk about it if it matters. Goldberry comes down onto a Poliwag and a fighting attach to the Cleffa. So looks like this Poliwrath is going to be a fighting Poliwrath. I assume it is Skyridge, but we'll see what happens later on. And a quick Eek. Okay. Back to Electric side here. See a lot of energy in hand, so that's always a good thing to have. Looks like a switch and something else maybe? Can't tell what the far left card is there, but looks like this will be pretty aggressive.
For a second.
Alright, Voltorb gets the attach. For one attach it can use, let's see, Speedball I think? Yeah. Rocket Voltorb has Speedball for 20. Plasma hits another Tails, so that Cleffa is perfectly healthy, and a Clefable and a Poliwhirl come down. That Clefable is E-Reader, specifically from Expedition. Moonlight is kind of similar to Furret, which sees a lot of play, but for Moonlight you put a single card from your hand into your deck and search out a basic energy after showing it to your opponent. So very similar to Furret. Fighting energy goes down onto the Poliwhirl. And that Poliwhirl can use that fighting energy for a belly drum. Usually we don't see that, but if you are willing to take 3 damage counters onto the Poliwhirl, you can search your deck for 2 basic energy and attach them to it. So pass back on another Eek, and now Energy Stadium is also out. So lots going on early turn development here. And a lightning attach to the Electabuzz. A familiar face. It was very good in Haymaker way back in the day. Here it's still a very good card, but not on the bench right now. So it can use Thunder Shock for 10, Flip for Paralysis. Thunder Punch, we'll see if that becomes relevant. And another Voltorb comes down, also from Rocket. Attempt to Plasma again for 20. Finally hits a heads. No, I must have missed the damage counters on the Cleffa from the previous turns. That's my bad. So that is the first prize. Couldn't see the damage counters on the Cleffa, so there must have been either the first or second Plasma was also a heads. Poliwhirl comes in. Now this Poliwhirl has a grass weakness, which is going to help here, so Rocket Zapdos won't be able to deal 40. We'll see if Belly Drum comes out. That will matter significantly on what is in the hand. Curious if we'll see Energy Stadium try to retrieve that fighting energy back from the bin that was attached to the Cleffa.
I stack it so that analyst and then dryad, so dryad first, so I copy the dryad, then it turns into after analyst.
Alright, big thinking turn here. We'll see what's taking so long in a second. You can see it looks like a water energy in hand, putting 2 aside. We might see a computer search here. I can't think of any other reason to put 2 aside.
No, it's not. Yeah, because it's I mean, all of this. It's not like I feel bad. It's like the bad cards that you get rid of to do the thing.
That also, yeah. That's what.
Looks like a water and a fighting energy were placed aside for a second. Yeah, it does look like a no, it's not a computer search thought. Just a fighting energy down onto Poliwrath. All right, two aside again. I have to imagine there's a comp search in hand. Actually, I can kind of see the art. Yep, there it is. Okay, so 3 cards in hand, it looks like. Looked like one might have even been a Gust. Couldn't quite tell, but Poliwrath is coming out from the computer search. So if you're not familiar with Skyridge Poliwrath, 110 HP, 1 attack called Spiral Punch for 2 fighting and a colorless. You flip coins until you get tails. No matter how many heads you get, it'll deal at least 40 and then an extra 20 for each additional heads. So technically it can knock out anything. But the real reason to run it is because of Strange Spiral. That's also why we have a Clefable supporting it on the bench. Strange Spiral means that if it's your active, you may discard a basic energy attached to Poliwrath, and if you do, the defending Pokemon will become confused. So we'll see how Confusion does. Switch out on the Rocket Zapdos, that's a big one. And Pichu comes in, so Pichu will be doing 20 to anything with an ability on board. That is going to be the Clefable and the Poliwrath. Poliwrath does have a Psychic weakness, so no concerns for this Lightning matchup right now. But Clefable will not like Pichu being active for too long. Right, and now, no tap cut after the Elm. We'll get 7 fresh grip for Zoo. And no more trainers can be played this turn. See all kinds of cards in there. A Gust, 2 energy. Looks like Lieutenant Surge's Electabuzz might be in hand, along with a Neo Revelations Raikou. And an Energy Search, so good hand peep here. And Pichu will tag all abilities for 20 with Zap. Energy Stadium roll. It's a Tails. Attached from hand. Correcting some damage math from Pichu. I guess each damage counter is only 10. Now Zapdos gets gusted. That's interesting because it does have a fighting resistance. Alright, and looks like Spiral Punch is active. It hit 1 heads. And a little bit of math, and that is 60 minus 30 for the resistance, so 30 to the Zapdos. The Zapdos can stick around and tag quite a bit of damage here. No Confusion active right now. Attach for turn goes to the benched Rocket Zapdos. Not a bad idea considering that the Poliwrath can't damage it too easily.
It does, so it's not power to
Or sorry, the Poliwrath. Too many Polys here. And we're just going straight for an attack. Or no, that was for Energy Stadium.
How many cards in hand?
6.
6 cards in hand for the electric side. Clefable's being used now to go search out a basic energy. Getting a fighting energy off of Moonlight this time. And that will be used to fuel computer search. Makes sense if you traded in a Pokemon or if you traded in a trainer. And I assume we'll see an Oak here with an empty hand. A little bit of deck check going on as well.
Virgo.
And it was a copycat instead of an oak, but good enough when there are 6 cards in hand for your opponent, so almost a full grip. We have yet to see an attach for turn, I think, so we might see confusion here.
Yeah, that's fair. Go ahead.
Big thinking turn for the Poliwrath side. Alright, that would be a spare attach. So Strange Spiral is usable. It was usable anyway, but you could now Strange Spiral as well as get Spiral Punch off. Alright, and just an attack coming up here. Alright, that's going to do 10. Slowly chipping away. Next turn, it is worth noting, a heads on Spiral Punch will knock out the active Rocket Zapdos. I wouldn't have minded seeing Strange Spiral come up there. Landing the confusion, you know you can get the energy back with Energy Stadium, and now you have a Gust taking the benched Poliwag into active, and that will now take 40, so that could definitely matter doing math later. Luckily, that Poliwag is pretty bulky with 50 HP on a basic. It's also now stranded in the active position, so I assume this is a roll for Energy Stadium. Not doing much this game so far. Might see Poliwag just go down. You could use Moonlight on Clefable to go and fetch an energy, discard it, retreat, put in that Poliwrath again. Also reasonable to assume that this Poliwrath deck is running more than just one gold berry, so Sweet Spot would be 40 with that Poliwag, could pop the berry if it draws into it.
Yeah, got it. Shatter Shock, 5 back. Okay.
And looking like another big turn here. And a Warp Energy comes down, so that wouldn't have even been off of the Clefable. Warp Energy gets the Poliwag out of active and keeps the energy attached, which is great. Note for future use, that cannot be discarded, I don't think. Yeah, that cannot be discarded for Strange Spiral, so a little awkward, but now we're going to see if the Zapdos is going to make it or not. And that's one heads. It should already be the knockout. Alright, first prize for Poliwrath. So we're at prize parity 5-5 here. Pichu coming in. And that's Lieutenant Surge's Electabuzz. Now, Lieutenant Surge's Electabuzz has only single energy requirement attacks. I believe that was Gym Heroes. It is in another language and it has an attach. So for charge, you can take 2 energy cards from your discard pile and attach them to Electabuzz. Discharge discards all lightning energy attached to it. Otherwise the attack does nothing, and then you flip the number of coins equal to the number of energy cards discarded in that way, and it does 30 for each heads. So big burst card. Looks like we're doing more Clefable shenanigans. Moonlight pulling out a fighting energy. Lots of flips for this deck. between the Poliwrath, the Stadium, and just WotC in general having baby rules. Lots of flips.
Spring Spiral.
Cool thing is, Confusion will hit Pichu without having to roll for the baby rule.
Put it as any permanent you can hit.
And we'll see if this is a knockout. No, it's not. Tails on the baby rule. So, worth noting as far as Confusion rules work for this Pichu.
Flip on a failed flip.
At least for WotC rulings, we go with older Confusion rules. So you can retreat this Pichu, but you would have to flip a coin. If you hit tails, you don't retreat, you stay active, and you're not allowed to attempt to retreat again because there's infinite retreating in this format. And if you're confused and you try to attack, you flip a coin. If tails, you attack yourself for 20. Otherwise, your attack goes through as normal. So, lots of Confusion rules to remember. It doesn't come up very often, but because Pichu is a free retreater, you wouldn't have to discard any energy to attempt the retreat. Looks like that was tails for Energy Stadium.
5, right? So it'd be a fail on the.
Oh, the fail on attack too?
Yeah. Yeah, so you'd take 20 then.
Oh, that was not for Energy Stadium. I lied. Okay, don't forget your Energy Stadiums, people. Every time I narrate a game and there's an Energy Stadium, there's someone not taking advantage of it. So that was an attack. Confusion does 20. Would have been worth trying to... probably not retreating it because nothing else has free retreat on bench, but if Pichu was not a free retreater, you'd have to discard your energy before attempting the retreat coin flip while you're confused. Alright, looks like that was for Energy Stadium.
Old juggler.
And a juggler, that's a fun supporter. So we'll see how many basic energy get discarded. And that will determine the number of cards drawn off of juggler. But juggler is a supporter. It's from Aquapolis. You can discard up to 2 basics. If you discard 1, you draw 3. If you discarded 2, you draw 5. So, does see some fringe play. Very good in basic energy decks, very fun to use. And a Poliwrath comes down. Very damaged, no belly drumming for that one. And we're still at 5-5 on the prizes, so expecting the prize count to start to tick up faster. And there's the gold berries we were talking about earlier, so that will pop at the end of the turn, go to discard, and take all those damage counters off of the Poliwrath, so that's fantastic. No water energy attached, that's fine. Not sure what the exact energy split is in this deck. I assume it's more fighting than water, but you never know.
I will attempt the knockout.
Alright, and attempting a knockout on the Pichu. Baby rule, it's a tails. Pichu stays around, but it is confused, so not easy for it to swing back either. Getting damage pretty high up on that Clefable, though. Looks like
So it's a
a retreat was attempted. It looks like it succeeded. And Rocket Zapdos will come in. Could just tag 20 here. Let's see, a Nightly Garbage Run in hand. Much more common to see Town V played, but Nightly Garbage Run, if you are worried about cramming supporters, is not a supporter, and it gets 3 out of the 5 that Town V would otherwise. Worth noting that there is a single needed attach now for Zapdos to use Electro Burn for 70, and 70 will be enough to knock out that Poliwrath at this amount of HP. So that Goldberry we saw in the Poliwhirl now is a little sorely missed. And the Rocket Zapdos, not easy to knock out through that resistance, so part of the reason we think that fighting decks in general struggle to thrive in this meta is because Rocket Zapdos is in so many decks, and that fighting resistance does do a lot of work. Part of fighting's identity is just do damage, straightforward attaches, not too many gimmicks or tricks you can do. This Poliwrath is one of those exceptions.
To Energy Stadium.
Energy Stadium is a heads at least though, so I assume we'll see, unless you want to keep powering up the benched Poliwhirl, pretty good time to maybe get the Zapdos confused, staring down an Electro Burn for 70. Zapdos, of course, will take recoil damage on that attack, but it would be very well worth it to take out a Stage 2 Poliwrath.
Yep, and I'm going to attack. 3.
And pretty big hand for Poliwrath, so pretty big turn here. Moonlight from Clefable, so more deck searching, pulling out another basic energy. Kind of funny, you could Clefable in a basic energy, and I guess pull the same one back out?
Okay.
Yeah, you could, if you just want the deck peep.
That is mixed. I'm mulliganing this, and I know it's probably a mistake, but that's okay. On the play. It's so good on the play. You gotta scrape the object.
And a water attached to the benched Poliwhirl, so considering that is the attach for turn, assumedly Poliwrath will still want to attack. If that's going to happen, we can no longer use Strange Spiral this turn. Of course, all you got to do is hit heads over and over, and Spiral Punch will carry you.
Well, you know, like the color and color is each different color.
Oh, and they're all different states? Yeah.
All custom Electabuzz.
Looks like a Gus will pull up Electabuzz here. Now, we were talking about Zapdos having a fighting resistance. Most of these other electric Pokemon have a fighting weakness. So, Zapdos, always fun in a lightning deck because it kind of covers your weakness and resistance, but Gust is going to guarantee a KO here, which will take 2 energy off the board along with that Electabuzz. And we're fan clubbing as well, building up a bench. We'll see what that brings out. Probably planning ahead here for that Pichu in the back.
Fire for turn. Down B.
It's going to be another Cleffa and another Poliwag, so keep in mind these gusts are going to be important because you can gust up Surge's Electabuzz and knock it out without worrying about your flips and with Poliwrath. Same deal with all the Voltorbs and the Electrodes if they evolve.
Oh, it does. Oh, really? Huh. Oh, yeah.
Alright, that's the knockout for turn. And we could see an immediate response from that Zapdos if there's an energy in hand. That would definitely get the knockout. Garbage Run pulling a Zapdos. I think it was a Zapdos and 2... yeah, it was a Zapdos knocked out earlier, as well as 2 Lightning Energy back into the deck. Deck's getting a little thinner. Plenty of room, though.
That's why you're supposed to play variation.
That was wrong. I just threw every chance I
It looks like there's an energy removal in hand that would at least force... Let's see, if you're going to knock out this Poliwrath, energy removal hitting the bench would force a lot of energy away. But we're going to hold on to the energy removal. Rocket Zapdos will take 40 damage in recoil from that Electro Burn.
Now there's a trick.
And Cleffa will become active. And I'm pretty sure... Looks like a prize was forgotten to be taken, so... It's the second time I've seen that doing these. We'll see if they notice, but that should have been a prize up. Because the first knockout was a Cleffa, so don't forget to take your prizes, don't forget to flip for Energy Stadium. You'll find great success doing these two things. Heads on the Energy Stadium, so you can see the energy just separated out from the rest of the bin over there for easy access since this deck moves it around so much. With Poliwhirl inactive, I assume there's a Poliwrath coming because Electro Burn would double knock out both actives. Yeah, never mind. Water Gun was just knockout in retaliation to the Rocket Zapdos, so Pichu comes back. Pichu needs to survive a turn to get rid of that Clefable, though. Alright, Energy Surge, they're going to go and grab a basic energy out of the deck. Probably Lightning.
What energy level? I'm guessing just
You do have to show to your opponent, yeah, Lightning.
Oh, wait, that's what you got for...
Put it in your hand. Shuffle that afterwards.
Oh, that's really weird.
That is a lot of game.
4 out, you have one energy type version.
Alright, a little bit of shuffling later, and still has that energy removal in hand. Energy removal on that fighting energy would prevent some Poliwrath shenanigans for sure, because it needs 2 fighting energy for Spiral Punch should it evolve.
Alright, and then energy for turn, I'm going to put here.
Although at this point, honestly, Water Gun's doing just fine. It's hitting that 30 benchmark, and if you use Clefable for more water energy, it can keep scaling up to 50.
Strength Charm. Gust of a Mind.
So keep an eye on that Pichu and that Clefable. I'm not sure if there's a second Pichu in this deck that could come out, but that Clefable's looking at a knockout now.
Desert Shower.
How many cards in hand? 5. I'll do a copycat.
Alright, a Copycat. Medium-sized Copycat, I think. Maybe there's 5 cards in hand on the opposing. Yeah, looks like about 5. That'll be supportive return, and that's right, we get to see more shuffling.
So it's 5, right?
Okay, here, I put energy here. knock out the one and deal 20 damage.
And there's a Poliwrath right off of that copycat and a fighting energy attach. So holding on to that energy removal, it's going to allow this Poliwrath to get an attack off. Pichu is now also confused after that water energy was discarded. Doesn't matter though, Pichu gets knocked out, saving the Clefable for now. So, prizes are now 2-4. And we have yet to see a single Electrode come out of the deck and evolve one of these Voltorbs. Fan Claw, that's pretty good though. You might see the Rocket Zapdos come right back out. There's a Cleffa. There is another Pichu in deck. Might just grab that and prize up. Instead of the Pichu, it will be the Rocket Zapdos to resist this Poliwrath. Keep in mind, energy removal in a hand can take out that fighting energy. If you grab the Pichu here, you can bring it in, energy removal that fighting energy, and take out the Clefable, but with Energy Stadium down, you're probably going to see that energy come back one way or another. And it looks like there is that Electrode in hand for evolution. Instead we'll see an Energy Search. So while Energy Search is resolving, okay, that resolved very quickly. But regardless, let's talk about that Jungle Electrode in hand. 90 HP is pretty big for stage 1. The Poliwrath inactive will not be able to one-shot that even with a super effective attack on it. Clef is going to come up anyway, but that Electrode does have access to Chain Lightning. We just saw it retreat and discard, so it's not going to get that Chain Lightning off. But DCE, tackle for 20, Chain Lightning for 3, Lightning Energy, does 20, and if the defending Pokemon is not colorless, the attack will deal 10 to each bench Pokemon of the same type as the defending, including your own. So in this case, it wouldn't do anything to the bench for anyone. Water energy gets removed with the energy removal. Or just kidding, I guess they wanted the warp.
Oh, man. Yep. That would have helped.
And an Eek. Now, ERing the warp couldn't be used for Strange Spiral anyway, so would have preferred to see one of the fighting. I know we have Clefable, I know we have Energy Stadium, it's not going to slow down Poliwrath too much, but looks like that heads was for Energy Stadium to my own point, bringing it back to hand.
Yeah, I could discard just about anything else though. It's just unuseful in this matchup for me. But
I'm trying to see a line of play for Electric Zoo at this point. Fighting attached to active, we'll see if they Strange Spiral. Another copycat, just because we haven't seen enough of that.
that risky elm to get the fire energy. This deck's definitely working out a lot better.
Looks like there is a fan club in hand, I think, for Electric Zoo, so that Pichu could come back. Also a bill in hand. Probably worth it to start trainer dumping at this point in the game, just to get as much resource as you can, try to swing back here. Might need to do a YOLO play with that Lieutenant Surge's Electabuzz.
With the Typhlosion on the bench, I had a DCE in hand, so I could have hopped up Typhlosion and powered up Typhlosion 2, and then it would have been 50 turn.
Alright, Moonlight from Clefable, more searching, more shuffling, more basic energy, more WotC-20. And dice roll for the heads. I thought they already Energy Stadiumed this turn, but
I will
Somebody will
discard.
I could have sworn that we already saw the Energy Stadium this turn, but I am slowly losing my mind, and there is only one prize left for Poliwrath to take.
Either that same framing device or a very, very
Attached to Rocket Zapdos, keep in mind that that is going to be hard to knock out, as we've seen earlier this game. Plasma will get attaches from bin, because there's been enough energy going into the bin, so Electro Burn could come back. 2 Plasmas and an Electro Burn will knock out that 110 HP Poliwrath. And Pichu coming out with the fan club, as we were discussing, and another Cleffa. No reason not to drop that bill on the table, draw 2, see what you can find at this point as well.
why it's there, and if it's there because it's not working, or what the situation is. So, like, I don't want to sell it to you and then it not be working, and then you have to like run around and bring it back and do all this.
It's usually the core that's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, there's not too much that can really go wrong here.
Well, it wouldn't be impossible to see a momentum swing, but it is going to be hard. There need to be a lot of specific flips.
Oh my god, I forgot that exists. Otherwise,
Draw 2 from Bill. Looks like there's an Oaken hand now with another Voltorb.
Travis,
Yes.
question.
Give me 1 second.
Electrode comes down. Now, I also think we've only seen... I don't think we've seen every gust that Poliwrath would be playing. So, as we talked about that weakness and resistance element between Poliwrath and most lightning types, aside from Zapdos, we could be staring down an inevitability with the remaining prize. And an Oak is just going to pitch everything. So a fresh 7. There's another energy removal. That will at least prevent Strange Spiral and an attack on the same turn next turn for Poliwrath. Yep, there goes Fighting Energy. And there's the Plasma, so one more attaching to Plasma away from being able to Electro Burn your way out of this one. You still don't want too many heads from Poliwrath, though, when it attacks, because you want that Zapdos to be able to take the recoil damage and not get killed by, I don't know, a single attack from Poliwag? And it could headbutt for 10. It could roll out for 20. We don't know. It's claymation. It's unpredictable. And a Town Volunteers. That'll probably put enough juice back in the deck for this to not drag out too long. Looks like the full Tadpole line's going in. I assume we'll see some... You don't necessarily need to pull your energy out just because you do have Energy Stadium doing that for you. But Town V, another card that will take some time to resolve.
It's the same as like the whole thing.
It's so funny.
It's a bummer, so that's what it is.
Lots of energy in that pile. Don't forget the shuffle between rounds, people. And 2 fighting will go back into the deck. That's fine. Keeps Clefable rolling.
Technically, I played this in Japan while I was there. It was a little different.
Now, Zapdos is not powered up enough for this, but
There you go. That's all the,
if possible, could Electro Burn first, have Pichu play cleanup. But you can't let Poliwrath take another prize, so...
It's funny though, like I get it for like
Trader sends a Poliwag in. I assume it's for a Poliwhirl.
as weird as it is to say, I think I like that WotC can be expensive, but that it doesn't.
Like you can kind of go crazy in some jobs, like you're very set, or you can just feel definitely, which is a lot of celebration cards.
Yep. Three scissor. Pretty good. Scissor is what?
That is a big hand for Poliwrath. Can't imagine there's too many choices, too many meaningful choices here.
How does having a baby out and having the opponent's Pokemon confused interact?
It looks like we're ironing out some rules confusion, quite literally about confusion, and baby rules. So confusion and babies, one of those we see and deal with all the time in this format, the other much less common. But while they iron it out,
Okay. Pretty good.
I assume that means there's a gust in hand if they're discussing confusion and how it interacts with babies. It doesn't shut off the baby rule, nothing does. Not even dark for alligator, I don't think. Scare turns off everything else about babies, but you can't turn off the baby rule. And we're gonna retreat into a Cleffa. That's dangerous unless you're pretty sure there's no gusts coming from Zapdos' side. And that was a retreat cost of 2. I would be comfortable retreating the Zapdos and bringing in the Pichu, get a prize, take out that Clefable, tag the extra 20 onto the Poliwrath. Then you're just looking at 70 from there.
I forgot that's why I played the Pokemon, was so that I could.
Yeah, attached to Pichu. Pretty big hands. We still have that free retreat Neo Raikou in hand, the non-hollow one.
After they're done playing their games.
Raikou's not going anywhere, sorry. I know. He has a destiny to fulfill.
And we will see that retreat. Just gotta hit a hedge through this Cleffa to tag the Clefable. That's too bad, it's a Tails. I liked that play a lot. Forward thinking, gives a few chances for a win there. Energy Stadium roll, it's a heads. And now a Juggler discarding 2 to draw 5. That will be a supporter for turn. Can't quite tell how much energy is sitting on that Poliwrath. I can't tell if it's 1 or 2, but maybe you just come on in here. Yep, there's 2. Come on in. Take a swing, hit the Pichu. That'll probably be for game.
There's lots of magnetons, and there's 2 of these.
All gusted.
The middle magnet.
Ah, even better. Gust for game, hit super effective. And that'll do it for this match. So thank you for watching. This has been more WotC-20. See what these prizes are. A gust and lots of energy, so gust matters. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, and then to make up the difference, anything in the EVs, like